Hey, I'm glad that we managed to do this finally.
No worries. All good. Excited about it.
So, Gaston, I think Limehome has been one of the most disruptive companies in the hospitality industry for the last couple of years. But I know that you've got over 10 years of experience in product management and you've been focused on customers, on making sure that your product team is understanding those user needs, that you know how to translate them directly into product improvements. And I know that you've been also working very closely with other departments and functions when it comes to engineering, CX team, or design, UX. So I guess what I would like to focus on today is that aspect of collaboration, but also productivity. And
Yeah.
specifically, I would really like us to talk about how AI is changing, how product teams are working, whether it helps you move faster, whether it helps you make those product decisions and improvements faster, whether it helps you in collaboration and improving that productivity aspect. That's really something that I would love to discuss with you today.
For sure. Sounds very exciting.
But let's start maybe from the basics. Why don't you tell us a little bit more about your role at Limehome as a group product manager and your current objectives?
Yeah, absolutely. So, as my name is Gaston, I've been in Limehome for 5.5 years right now. Before I was working for Accenture also for a long time. So I have that mix of very big companies and now the startup experience as well. I'm leading product for the guest journey at Limehome, basically ensuring our guests have an amazing experience every step of their journey. We have 5 product teams at the moment. They are basically separated based on the guest journey. And right now, I'm focused on improving how we handle guest interactions, trying to make them seamless, quick, and personalized.
When you think about customer experience, why would you say does that customer feedback matter to your team today more than ever? How important it is to your team?
Yeah, I think it's because expectations are higher than ever. Our guests tell us exactly what's great and what's not so great. So ignoring that is like ignoring a treasure map to success, I would say. Plus, in hospitality, small issues can quickly escalate. So we have to stay ahead.
Can we maybe share with our audience what is the quantity of that feedback that you're dealing with on a monthly or annual basis? Like, how big is the challenge?
Oh, we're talking about like tens of thousands. We are not just looking at review that we get, but any interaction that we have with our customer support is feedback for us. Any interactions that they have with transactional communication is feedback. Even things that are happening on the product as well. You can imagine we have more than 4,000 units live right now. On a weekly basis, we get on the tens of thousands touch points.
Wow, this is really impressive. But that means basically you're looking into every single touch point to analyze what's going on there. Thinking about those large volumes of feedback, how did you manage it before adopting an AI tool like Chattermill?
Mostly spreadsheets and manual tagging. So a true nightmare. We do have a dedicated guest insights manager, but she was trying to get basically water out of rocks. It was impossible to go through all of it. And it felt like we spent more time categorizing feedback than actually doing something with it. So definitely not scalable or fun.
What about customer interviews? Because I know that product managers, specifically product teams, UX teams, really rely on customer user interviews to get that intel that they need for improving their product.
Yeah, customer interviews are gold, but they're just snapshots, right? Interviews can give depth, but we needed breadth at scale, something that represented our whole customer base. So that's why we still do interviews, but we need something that actually gives us insights on a larger portion of our guests.
Got it. So tell me what made you realize that it was time to look for something different, for a dedicated tool instead of just handling that process manually.
Basically, when we realized we were drowning in data, as I mentioned, we have luckily a dedicated customer insights manager that really look at this problem. And so it just clicked. We scale manual work. So especially as our user base grew, so it makes sense to look for a tool that actually help us get those insights out of the data.
And then what happened next is you started working with Chattermill. Tell me a little bit, what were your first impressions about the platform?
I was very happy. My first touch was basically when we were setting the themes for the digital product. So we have multiple sessions, and then we were given a tour of how to use it. And my first reaction was like, this actually works. It was like someone flipped the lights on in a dark room.
Can you share with our audience maybe how you are using Chattermill today? Like, what is your day to day with the platform? What you're looking into on, let's say, an average Monday morning?
Yeah, so I'm particularly looking at the net sentiment of our digital journey, but it basically frees us from the manual slog. So now instead of coding comment, we jump straight into understanding an action. It's way more proactive and less reactive, I would say, overall. And I love the highlights and phrases features that Chattermill has. It's really helped us identifying pain points and prioritizing them.
So when you're jumping into Chattermill and you're looking into different reports and dashboards, are there any specific questions or business problems that you're trying to answer through customer feedback?
I would say primarily, how can we make our guests happier and more loyal? But also identifying friction points early and spotting emerging trends or demands. We identified what are the real break points in the journey, things that directly affect the rating, and we try to solve those. We first did like an analysis of what issues actually had direct impact on the ratings that we were receiving. Most of them are with the online checking and the access from the digital product part of things. So when we were creating the themes, we created specific themes for access and online checking. And that's how we get those specific insights. We can filter by them. We can separate in properties. When we have different logs, we can find which properties we want to analyze and how different logs compare to other logs based on the properties that they have them. So it's super deep, the kind of analysis that we can do.
Got it. Can you share any example of maybe an issue or an opportunity that you found in Chattermill, but you might have missed otherwise?
Yeah, for sure. I think this happened a little bit back, but for example, we got recurrent feedback about arrival confusion at certain locations. And at the time, we worked very closely with the guest experience team to make sure that the instructions that we were putting in our digital products were clear enough for the guests to arrive successfully to the property. It was basically something that from the digital product, we don't really get that kind of insight. It was inside a different property. So the arrival was not as streamlined as just giving you the address. You actually had to go through a different property to arrive to the correct door. And that's something that we identify just because it was in each other.
Do you have any favorite features or any specific things in Chattermill that you use a lot?
Yeah, so I think the sentiment analysis and the trending topics feature are lifesavers for spotting what's hot and what's not. And as I mentioned before, I really love the highlights of the phrases, especially for prioritization, because you can see how many times a specific comment has been said. So it actually helps us a lot to see, okay, this is a bigger problem.
Let's talk a little bit about that impact of AI in general on your team productivity. How would you say AI in general has changed the speed of turning that feedback into some decisions?
Well, I think it is turn it from weeks into days. Like sometimes we get to do stuff in a single day. So we catch insights in near real time, making us way more flexible and responsive.
And what about the impact on your product roadmap?
I think it will probably be set up mostly on gut feeling rather than clear customer signals. So basically, we will just have to be guided by what we were getting from specific interviews and not validated it with a bigger sample. So right now, we can offer a lot more clarity and a lot of more confidence on our roadmaps.
Hmm. Does that also impact your collaboration with other teams?
Yeah, for sure. I think it's way easier to talk on the same terms. So when we're presenting what are different features or different problems that we want to solve, we have the data right now to back it up why this is the most important problem to solve and why.
Hmm. What kind of time savings have you seen since integrating AI or since integrating Chattermill into your feedback analysis?
I think infinite, I would say, because like before we really couldn't do it at scale. So now we are doing it. So I think it's easily, I would say hours a week. But again, this is no exaggeration. It's not just the time saved, but the confidence that we get from those insights right now.
That's great to hear. If you were to just summarize what we just discussed, looking back, what's the most noticeable shift or benefit since you started using Chattermill?
I would say we went from being mostly reactive firefighting to being proactive. We're ahead of issues now instead of always chasing them. There's always cases where we have to chase the issues anyway, but I would say mostly now we are in a proactive improvement.
I'm wondering because you've been working with Chattermill for quite a few years, probably now, but we all started at some point, right?
Mm.
So what advice would you give to a product manager or someone from a UX team who are just starting with the Chattermill?
I would say, first of all, don't be afraid to use it, dive in quickly, and don't wait for perfection. I think you get a lot of value out of it and you learn by doing. Use the insights immediately and iterate fast. And basically, you just watch how your impact grows.
And my last question, if someone was on the fence about using Chattermill, what would you tell them about the benefits they would receive?
Yeah, I would say just picture your team with clarity instead of chaos, making decisions on data instead of gut feeling. I think it's a no-brainer investment if you value understanding your customers deeply. You need a tool like that to effectively do product management and convincing stakeholders and making sure that you are bringing enough context to your team when you are trying to solve a problem, supporting with data all the decisions that you make.
Especially when you have such large volumes of feedback as Limehome does. Yeah.
We were lucky that we implemented them a few years ago already. So now we have 3 times the number of feedback that we were receiving like that.
Great. Thank you. I wanted to learn about you and working with Chattermill and your product team working with customer insights. Now I've got a set of 15 very quick questions that I would love to answer with you.
That's good.
The first one, what's your secret superpower as a product leader?
I would say empathy paired with ruthless prioritization.
What's the first thing you check in Chattermill each Monday?
I check the trending issues from the weekend.
Which feedback channels matter most to your team?
The chatbot and the direct reviews.
What's the most underrated feedback source?
I would say transactional emails.
One metric you're obsessed with?
Right now, I would say guest effort score.
Biggest product myth you wish would disappear?
That feedback slows down innovation.
What's your go-to way to get buy-in from leadership?
The quick wins align with long-term strategy backed by customer quotes.
The most unexpected insight from customer feedback?
It sounds really obvious now, but I guess engage way more when they think the communication is not automated.
What's the best compliment a customer has given your team?
It felt like home, but smarter.
Favorite Chattermill feature and why?
I think I will say voice analysis really made us feedback analysis whole. Before we were missing most of the information given in phone calls, so that was really nice.
Any trends in product that you're paying close attention to in 2025?
Yeah, I think hyper personalization powered by AI.
One thing product teams should stop doing immediately?
Ignoring qualitative data for vanity metrics.
Hmm. What's the most rewarding part of your job?
I think it's seeing my team succeed, turning insights into value or getting big learnings.
The best piece of career advice you've ever received?
You're not your user. Listen more.
If your team had a tagline, what would it be?
This is going to sound cheesy, but I think like less friction, more magic.
Less friction, more magic. I love that. Yeah, really nice one. Gaston, it has been absolutely a pleasure to have you as a guest today. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with me, with us, with our community. Wishing you very exciting projects to work on moving next. And I hope that Chattermill will be always a part of it.
Yeah, for sure. I think it has grown with us as well, allowing us to incorporate more feedback and be more confident and adding more value.
Amazing. That's really great to hear. Really appreciate. Thank you for joining me today. I guess I'll speak to you soon.
Awesome. Thank you for having me.